How do I save hundreds of hours every month without ever getting in a writer's block and finding new inspirations in an instant? Well, this is what I'm going to talk about in this video. I'm David, and I've been composing and writing music for more than 10 years now, primarily doing commercial music, and in the last 5 years I've been writing full-time for trailer music. So one key thing which has allowed me to rack up over 100 trailer placement and TV show placements is delivering high-quality music in a very short amount of time. This has not only allowed me to make 6 figures a year with writing music, but I still have enough time to spend time with my friends and family, take time for my hobbies, for my mental and physical health as well. So enough about me, let's get right into this video. Master the art of sound sculpting. Okay, the best way to explain this is to give you a quick example. So imagine your music, or you as a musician, it's like a body someone wants to transform, like someone wants to get healthy and in shape. So you would think of, yeah, okay, I'll just go to the gym, I just eat a little bit healthier, and yeah, that will probably make me healthy and will get me in shape. But that's really not how that works. So if you're really serious about that stuff, you will need to find the correct diet which works for you. You need to get a nutrition plan, you need a workout plan, a routine which works for you, and you just need to learn about how your body works. Most importantly, you will need to stay consistent. So if you just go to the gym and do the wrong movements or the wrong workout, you don't give your body enough rest, or you just eat crap at home the whole time, then you won't really see the results. And the same really principle applies to your music and the skills you have in the music and what you can produce. So finding the right techniques on how to improving your skills and your craft, staying consistent, that's really the key on growing and opening your horizon as a musician, and ultimately it will open a lot more doors for you. All right, next let's go over 5 things you can do right now to maximize your sound sculpting skills. So first of all, we have score and track analysis. So what you can do here is you can listen and analyze tracks which perform really well with the current trend, or which are really popular in general, also tracks you really like for yourself, and find out what do you like about these tracks? What do other people like about these tracks? Why does this track sold so much more licenses than all the other tracks? So basically you can go on various different library platforms and search or sort the library by whatever track sold the most or whatever track is the most popular, and then really go in and analyze the songs. If you're really music savvy, like theory savvy, you could also get scores and read the scores, analyze the scores, or you can do it like I do it. I just listen to it by ear and see what I can find out about these tracks, what makes them popular. So once you find that out, you can take this information and inspiration and add this to your own creative skill set and in your own songs, so you can imply that, and then hopefully that will have your music be more trendy in the future, and in general give you more creative ideas on how you can improve your own tracks, and I'll promise you will learn a lot from that. So number 2 would be recreation. So, and it is literally what it means. You literally try to take one of these tracks and recreate them as close as possible as you can. Not only will this even further help you understanding how this track was structured and built, but also it will help you with one really important thing, which is later on, if maybe you already came across this. So if you work with clients, they often ask you to write something in a very specific style. And usually the clients, they will work with a reference track. And a lot of times they say, hey, can you create something which is like very, very similar to this, but without getting us into any legal trouble. So this is literally a lot of times what clients will request. And if you do already have this practice of recreating other tracks, this will definitely help you in that sort of situation to be able to quickly grasp on what is happening in the track and how you can apply this to craft something very similar. Tip number 3, walkthroughs. So after you analyzed your tracks and you tried recreating them, next you can go and actually watch walkthrough videos or behind the scenes videos where other composers also try to recreate a track, or where actually the actual composer shows how he created a certain track. So what's really helpful about those videos is that you gain a lot of insights, not only on why the composer did a certain thing or how he came up with a certain inspiration, but also they share a lot of like cool hacks on how they work in the DAW, what plugins they use, why they use them, and what sounds they use to create certain moods. And yeah, there are a lot of things you can learn about those videos, so I would definitely recommend you at least once in a while watch those videos to just get some cool creative bursts of new ideas. Alright, next we have tip number 4 on how to improve your sound sculpting skills, which is creating your own signature sound. Now it gets a little bit more in depth, where you're literally trying to create your own sounds, which can be anything from your own drone, your own pad, your own cool guitar patch when you have like cool effects and stuff, something very creative. Or it can even be as little as single sound elements. That's what, for example, we as trailer composers, and also in a lot of commercials where they have transitioning sounds or hits or risers, sub-booms, or if you work in horror, you have some horror sound design. Anything really in that sort of field. This will not only help you understand how you can create sounds from scratch, but also it will just elevate your piece of music in general, and it will make it stand out from others, because most other people, they just use whatever samples are out there. They use the most common sample packs, they use all the famous libraries, and yeah, if you come with your own sounds, they will definitely stand out from the rest, and that can definitely help you gain more attraction with your songs. And also another cool thing is, once you have a whole collection of these sounds, you can always use them in future projects. So for example, I have a collection of a lot of rhythmic elements from even just, I recorded just some cymbal swells, or I recorded some TikTok sounds I can use for like high percussion things, elements in my tracks. I have a bunch of all those trailer signature sounds from whooshes and hits and risers, and I have a folder, everything organized, so whenever I need something, I already know exactly what kind of like would work and what I'm after, because I created those sounds for specific scenarios, so I can always quickly grab them, put them in, and they usually work perfectly fine. And I know no one really else has these sounds, so they will always stick up from other songs. Alright, the last tip, number 5, I'm gonna give you now is just be creative, and sometimes maybe get a little crazy. What I mean by that is, you can try out playing a new genre of music you actually never really have any interest to. Let's say you usually just listen to, I don't know, pop and cinematic music, or jazz or classic music. How about you just try to learn and cover a death metal piece, or something completely the opposite of what you usually listen to? This can really sometimes spark a lot of creative inspiration when it comes to your future work, and it's always really good to have those skills to be able to write in multiple different genres, especially as a film composer, or especially in the field for TV and advertisements, because they always request the most crazy stuff sometimes. So it's always good to try out new genres, and the same goes with new instruments. And also when it comes to designing your sounds, you can get creative and apply plugins or use tools you usually never really use. You have a bunch of, I guess you also have a bunch of plugins and tools in your DAW, but you never really use them, or they look too complicated, or but just try it out, just give it a shot, see what happens. Like what happens if you put 10 different reverbs, just get all your reverbs, and put them all in sound. I know maybe your CPU will explode, but who knows, maybe you will just create the most coolest drone or pad sound, So yeah, that's just the last tip I have for you. Get really creative, and to just sometimes get out of your comfort zone, to just expand your horizon. Right, the next thing I want to talk about is how you can literally save hundreds of hours, and that's becoming a DAW Ninja. Okay, so what do I mean by that? So here's the thing. I've been seeing a lot of composers, and I've been working with other composers, and I looked behind their back and literally were in the same room, saw how they worked, and sometimes all I could do was just shake my head, because they just worked so slow and inefficient. Yes, they still got their work done. They're in the industry, they're getting paid, but it could be a lot faster and efficient. To give you an example here, let's say you want to learn a language. And yes, you can get Duolingo and flashcards and find some random things online and then learn them over and over and over again until maybe in 2-3 years you get somewhat conversational. But what if I tell you you can actually learn the exact same thing by spending the same amount of time every day, but actually be conversational in 3 to 5 months? Really, at the end, it only comes down to the right learning techniques you use, the right habits you develop, and the right steps you follow to really maximize your learning capacities. And there's actually a really cool YouTuber, his name is Victor Talking on YouTube, and I recommend you checking him out. He really tells you on how you learn to learn. So the same things he talks about can also be applied to music or to any other skill. And when it comes to the skill of working fast and efficient, it's the number one key thing is being super fast and efficient with the program and the tools you're using. Pretty much every single click and step you do in a DAW, there's probably a way you can do it faster. So I want you to go in a DAW, write a song how you usually do it, and literally stop in every single action you do, adding a new instrument, saving, naming something, rendering something out, adding a effect to a track, and so on. Adding, I don't know, adding silence here, changing the tempo, changing the BPM, or changing the grid size from quarter notes to eighth notes. Literally everything you do in the DAW, there is a shortcut on how to do it. And if you learn all these shortcuts, and you can even go further and create custom macros and use third-party plugins such as Keyboard Maestro if you're under Mac, and really create somewhat complexer scripts to really help you out, you can literally save hundreds of hours every month and be a lot faster than all the other people. Like I used to, before, it took me 2-3 days to usually write a normal track, like to get like a V1 version 4 track. Now I can get that exact same track done in around 4 to 5 hours. So yeah, let me just show you some examples. All right, so let's quickly take a look here. So here I'm working in Cubase. I've been working in Cubase since forever, so this is just a DAW I prefer, but I usually say whatever you feel the most comfortable with, and wherever you have the most experience with, I would just stick with that. Usually they all pretty much do the same thing. It just comes down to what workflow and what visuals you technically prefer. Some of them do some things better than the other, but at the end you can get the same results with all of them. So this is my template. I have it separated here with my tracks in different folders. So you can see they're all color-coded, keys, strings, brass, and so on. One quick thing I can show you is, for example, here when we come to the trailer SFX, what I like to do is have some of my favorite sounds already preloaded in here. I usually swap them out like every month or so. I listen to all the samples I have, go through the list, and then see what are my favorites, and I put them all here under deactivated. So if I need a riser, I can just quickly activate the track. So this was, see here, actually the first thing. So usually in Cubase you would have to go right click and go enable track, and then here enable selected tracks, click here. But I also have a key switch for that, which is for me Shift and D. I click that and it enables it. If I click it again, we'll disable it. So even this alone, this movement would save you, I don't know, maybe like 5 seconds or so. So, but if you do this hundreds of times in a day, that times all the days you work in a week, that adds up to minutes, not maybe hours, just for this one simple thing. So, and what I can do here is I drag my riser here. I can exactly see where it ends. And that's how I work with sound effects. For me, that's just a much faster way on how to work with sound effects and specifically. All right, so one thing I wanted to show you. Let's say I'm gonna record something here quickly. right, that should do. Oh, I forgot pressing record, but no worries. I can just do this. Zack, here it is. We can zoom in, take a look how this looks like. So let's say we want to adjust these, or I want to quantize it, but my quantization is currently set to quarters and I want 1/8 notes in here. So what you could do is you could go up here, go here, choose 1/8 notes, and now you can see the grid is adjusted to 1/8 notes. But I also set this as my key switches. As you watch here this window, I can here switch between those. I can also toggle triplet mode on and off. This is just a lot faster than going up here every time and changing it out. So it's these little things which will really help you improve your workflow and just become so much faster. Let's say on beat 3, I want to add silence here, and I want to push everything after beat 4, after beat 3, want to push it a bar later. So this happens a lot when you work with films where they say, we actually need a little break in here, or we need more time because they have more dialogue. So and then sometimes you have to mark all your things, move it all back, and cut the different tracks here, and it can get quite messy. But if you know Cubase, and also I believe other DAWs can do that as well, if you go under, let me actually see, I think it's under Edit Range, then you can insert silence. So first you will have to set your locators, set them from left to right here. By the way, you can also actually do that with a key switch as well. And let's say we want to do that for 1 bar, then we go under Edit, Range, Insert Silence, and then now it's moved here. Let's move it back, but maybe you already saw it here. This actually also has a hotkey or key switch, so you can just press Command, Shift, and E, bam, and it does the same thing. So pretty much literally what I said, every single click and step and thing you do, you can replace with a key switch or with a macro. So now let's do the little bit more crazy stuff. Let's say I want to add an equalizer here, like Fab Filter. So what you could do is you could click here under Edit, go in here, choose your Fab Filter, search for Fab Filter, load it in here, and here you have it. A little faster way would be opening this window with a key switch like this, going in here, bam, and doing it like this, right? But what if I tell you, you can just press literally 1 button on my Stream Deck here, bam, and it automatically is loaded in and closed it and everything. So this is the stuff I'm talking about. This is what really saves you hours and hours on end at the end. Let's add in reverb in here. Valhalla Room, zack, bam, done. You know, see how quick that was? Usually this would take so long, especially if you apply this on all these different tracks. And there are tons more of these. For example, one thing I always hated in Cubase was that you don't have the option to have folders which are pre-routed to certain buses, like group buses. Like I believe in Logic, you have the summing folders or the stack tracks, or how they call them, where if you load an audio file in here or a new instrument, then it will be whatever is under that folder will already automatically be routed to, for example, the keys bus. But Cubase doesn't have that option, but that didn't stop me, because I created a custom macro actually within Cubase with the project logical editor. And what I can do is I have one key switch, actually I click it, and what it does is it goes through each folder, through each track I have in there, and routes it automatically to the correct bus I assigned it to. Bam. See, this only took like a few seconds, and now every single track in my whole session is routed to the correct correct bus, and it's ready to be stamped. So those are just a few tricks and tips I use to really improve my time when it comes to working in a DAW. I might do another video on how to and actually go over more of those and share you like my favorite top 10 or 15 hacks and tips, especially for Cubase, but I think you get the idea. All right, the last thing I wanted to discuss in this video is how to overcome the writer's block. And what exactly is this writer's block, and how do you get out of it, or how do you actually prevent it from coming in the first place? So what other people will usually say is, they say, just find some new inspiration somewhere. Basically like things I discussed in the beginning of the video on how to mastering sculpting your sounds, like listening to other people's music, watching some movie and listening to the score and getting inspiration, just sitting down, improvising, and then something will eventually happen. And on the other side, a lot of people will say, go out for a walk, go to the gym, play some video games, treat yourself for some healthy food, and just take your mind off all the stress and all the things, and then come back to it with a fresh mindset. So while these things do help and they do work, they don't really discuss the root issue behind it. Most of the time it has to do in your head. It's a mental thing. It's something it can have multiple forms. Usually lack of sleep, if something happens in your life which is really distressing for you, or which puts you in a depressing sort of state, that can cause it. Basically anything which keeps your mind and focus away from thinking creatively and just being distracted in general. I would say distraction is the biggest word here, the most important word, and distraction can have multiple different forms. So finding that distraction and trying to keep it in track or getting completely rid of it, that is the way on really how to solve the writer's block. So you need to find out in the first place, what is it really, what is holding you back, what is struggling you in that current time. And then, yes, maybe going out for a walk, doing something differently, and then objectively thinking about what's going on in your life, what is holding you back right now, how can you solve this, and then trying things out like developing healthier habits, trying a healthier diet, doing something good for your body, and trying to dedicate certain times, basically getting organized and dedicating a certain time where you really want to sit down and write music and get rid of all your distractions like social media and your phone. Basically put it all on the side, sit there and just improvise, play something, or listen to a bunch of new scores you haven't listened to, then trying to maybe cover them, trying to mix them up a little bit. From all this stuff, I'd say inspiration will come, especially if you follow the steps we discussed earlier in this video on how to master the sound scoping. Those things will give you instant creativity and inspirations, basically. And another thing I like to do is, for instant inspiration, is to sit down, look for new libraries, look for new virtual instruments, and then if I find something, just get it and then play with all the different sounds. And usually they really keep me or get me inspired. Especially one which comes to my mind right now is just the new Gravity 2 which just got released. I was just sitting down there playing with the patches, and I could just play for hours on end with them because they're really, really good. So I really recommend you get a new instrument, get a new virtual instrument, dedicate a certain time where you just sit down and experiment with sounds, play with new plugins, listen to new music you haven't listened to, and most importantly, figuring out what's really there, what's holding you back, and always trying to improve your life by living a healthier lifestyle, by really working with your mental state, by trying to figuring out how you become happy, what makes you happy. And yes, that's all I can give as an advice on that part. All right, awesome. It looks like you're still here. That means I'm doing at least something right, or hopefully I could have helped you a little bit. And since this is actually my first video, I would love to hear from you in the comments, maybe connect with a few people of you guys. And yes, let me know what you want to hear about next. We can discuss all kind of things. This is a brand new channel. I'm looking forward to trying various different formats with you guys, maybe showing you behind the scenes on some of my work, showing you tips and tricks on how to work in Cubase, reviewing some libraries. Just let me know what you're most interested in, and I can see what I can do in the future. Thank you so much for watching. See you later. Bye bye.